Good morning, scholars. Today we're going to be doing our work for Friday, April 17th. You will need your Kinder Reading Comp packet listed April 6th through 17th, Unit 7, days 1 through 10. Today we will be using the very last few pages of that packet, and it is going to look like this. It is labeled the Reading Unit 7 Practice Test, first grade print concepts. So today we will be doing our practice test together. Ms. T is going to read the answer to you read the question to you, and you're gonna try to answer this on your own, and then we will go over it after you complete it. So it will look a little bit different. Don't worry, it will be completely okay. I know you'll do your best and just be great at it. Before we begin, let's review what we've talked about with this Unit 7. So in Unit 7, we talked about two very important people that are needed for a book. The first one is the author. Let's go ahead and do our chant to remember what the author does. Ready? Get your piece of paper ready and your pencil. The author writes the words. The author writes the words. The author writes the words. Remember, scholars, the author is responsible for writing the words. Okay, that's why we write a word on our piece of paper. The next person we're going to look at is the illustrator. The illustrator makes or takes the pictures. The illustrator makes or takes the pictures. One more time. The illustrator makes or takes the pictures. So, scholars, remember the illustrator is very important to the book as well. He is responsible to make or take the pictures that match the author's words, which we've been talking about all year. The next thing we're going to talk about are the type of books that we have. We have fiction, which is a made-up story. One more time. Fiction is a made-up story. One more time. Fiction is a made-up story. We know fiction books are made up. There are 4 elements. The first one is magic. The second one is impossible situations. The third element is monsters or made-up creatures. And the fourth element is animals doing people things. Okay, if it has any of those things, it has to be a made-up story. It has to be fiction. The next type of book that we're going to talk about is nonfiction. Ready? Nonfiction teaches us about real things. One more time. Nonfiction teaches us about real things. One more time. Nonfiction teaches us about real things. If it is something that is real in the world, it is nonfiction, okay? The next book that we're going to talk about is poetry. Poetry, just like rhyme, has some elements to it. The first element is, poetry has 5 elements to it, just like fiction. I apologize. The first element is rhyme. For example, the words cat, hat, dog, frog, man, pan. Those are all rhyming words, and they all sound the same at the end, okay? The next element that a poem can have is rhythm. Rhythm is when we read something that is kind of to a beat, to a song. It has a little flow to it. It's not like just Miss T talking. The next element is repetition. Repetition means it goes and repeats over and over and over and over again. It keeps repeating over and over and over again. Poems are very short, and poems can sometimes talk about feelings like happy, mad, love, proud, frustration, okay? The last book we're going to talk about is a how-to book. A how-to book teaches you how to do something. It says how to in its name, okay? So that's always a hint. If it says how to, then we know it's a how-to book. For example, if I wanted to learn how to draw a dog, it would say how to draw dogs. And I would know it's a how-to book because it says how to in the title, in the name of the book. All right, let's go ahead and start with number 1. I know you'll do phenomenal. Number 1 has us look at the book Pete the Cat, the Cool Cat Boogier. It's asking if the book is fiction, nonfiction, poetry, or how-to. Listen to the words. Pete put on his shoes and buttoned up his shirt. He could not wait to go to his school dance. He had been practicing his groovy moves all day long. Scholars, if you think this Pete the Cat book about the cat getting ready to go to a school dance in clothing is A, fiction, circle A. If you think it's B, nonfiction, circle B. If you think it's C, poetry, circle C. And if you think it's D, a how-to book, circle D. Tell me the type of book this is. A, fiction, B, nonfiction, C, poetry, or D, how-to. Okay, now you're going to tell me how you know. I know this book is because. So turn and tell somebody how you know. How do you know this book is what you said? If you said it was fiction, how do you know? If you said it was nonfiction, how do you know? If you said it was poetry, how do you know? And if you said it was a how-to book, how do you know? I know because, tell somebody. Okay, come back to Miss T. Scholars, book number 1 is fiction. You should have circled A. This is a fiction book. We know it's a fiction book because it is an animal doing people things. Cats don't wear clothes and they don't go to school dances. So you should have told your parents, I know this book is fiction because it's animals doing people things. Now, parents, your scholar can verbally express it to you. That is fine. But if you would like them to write it down on number 1 on the lines, then they can go ahead and phonetically sound out animals doing people things. Okay, it's 4 words. It's a lot. So even if they put just A for animals, that is okay. Again, if you have the ability to make any of those anchor charts that we've been using this whole lesson, sorry, I don't know if they're showing up very well. I'll get closer. If you have the ability to use any of these or make any of these anchor charts that we've been using this whole lesson, you are more than welcome to have these available to your scholar while they take this practice enrichment exam or test. This will just help to make sure that they understood what was being discussed in this unit, okay? All right, let's go to number 2. Number 2 is a book about flowers. It says learning about flowers. Flowers come in all shapes and sizes. Some flowers smell lovely, other flowers have vibrant colors. Different flowers grow all around the world. Scholars, is this book about flowers A, fiction, B, nonfiction, C, poetry, or D, how-to? Go ahead and circle your answer. If you think this is a fiction book, circle A. If you think it is nonfiction, circle B. If you think it's poetry, circle C. And if you think it's a how-to book, circle D. Go ahead and make your choice right now. Okay, now just like before, you're going to turn to somebody in the room and you're going to tell them how do you know. You're going to use the sentence, I know because. Now, if you don't have somebody in the room, that is okay. You can write it. Tell me, how do you know this book is what you chose? So if you said fiction, tell me why you know it's fiction. If you said nonfiction, tell me why you know it's nonfiction. If you said poetry or how-to, tell me why you know it's one of those. Go ahead. Okay, come back to Miss T. Scholars, this book, Learning About Flowers, and it's telling us all the different facts, is non-fiction. It's about a real thing. So you should have circled B. You can tell me that this is a non-fiction book because it's teaching you about something that is real or because flowers are real. As long as you know that this book is teaching you about something that is real, that is what makes it non-fiction. Way to go. Number 3. Number 3 tells us already that this is a poem, but it wants you to know how this is a poem. Listen very closely, scholars, to what makes what I'm going to read a poem. Ready? 1 pig, 2 pig, 3 pig, 4. One on the couch and the other at the door. One in bed and one on the floor. First they oink and then they snore. One more time. 1 pig, 2 pig, 3 pig, 4. One on the couch and the other at the door. One in bed and one on the floor. First they oink and then they snore. We already know this is a poem, But what makes it a poem? What did you hear while I was reading that made it a poem? You're going to write your answer below. I know because. Go ahead and write your answer below, or tell somebody around you, what did you hear that made it a poem? Go ahead. Okay, come back to Miss T. I know this is a poem because it had rhythm and rhyme. Okay, so you could have written either rhyme, R-I-M-E, or you could have written rhythm, R-T-H-M. Okay, so either one of those answers would be okay. Both of them are great. And if you told your mom or dad you know it's a poem because it has those, then you are doing a wonderful job. If you didn't, that is okay, scholars. It is fine. That's why we're doing this video, to help you. So no biggie deal. It is okay. You're all doing wonderful. Let's go ahead and go to number 4. Ready? Who is the person that drew the picture? We see a picture right here. Who draws the picture? Think about it, and you're going to write it in that line. It says the drew the picture. Think about what it's called, the person that draws the picture, and write it right there on that line for number 4. Go ahead. If you can't write it, you can also tell your mom or dad next to you, but try to sound it out and get what you hear. All right, scholars. The illustrator is responsible for the picture. Who is responsible? The illustrator. Let's sound out illustrator. I. If you have an I, that's perfect. Let's keep going though to see if we can add some more sounds. L, U, S, T, R, A, T, R. So that's what was needed on there. Again, we are all at different points. If you only had the I, that's perfect. If you had the I and the L, way to go. If you were able to sound out the whole word, wonderful. If your parents had the word illustrator up or on a picture for you to use and you saw your room clue, way to go. You are doing great as long as you knew that it was the illustrator. The illustrator is responsible for the picture. Let's go to number 5. Number 5 asks, who is the person that writes the words? So in the box, we see some words that Miss T is going to read, and we need to think about who's responsible for those words. Captain America looked over at Hulk. He knew that he could trust his friend to help him. They took off running towards the city. Scholars, whose job is it to write the words? A, the reader, B, the author, or C, the illustrator? If you think the reader writes the words, circle A. If you think the author writes the words, circle B. And if you think the illustrator writes the words, circle C. Go ahead and choose your answer. All right, scholars, think about your chant. The author writes the words. Who writes the words? The author. So you should have circled B. Remember, the reader's job is just to read or listen to the story. The author writes the words, and the illustrator makes or takes the pictures. So you should have circled B, the author. All right, number 6 is going to have you fill in the missing word. Sound out to do your best and think about what the word might look like. The author of the book, Scholars, it's your job to write or tell your parents next to you what the author does. Think about your chant. The author, Go ahead and write your answer right now. Okay, come back to Miss T. The author of the book writes the words. Writes the words. Let's sound it out. R, I, T, S. Next word, the, which is a sight word, THE. Last word, words. W, R, D, 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 S. Words. The author writes the words. Okay, last one for today. Number 7, fill in the missing words. The illustrator of the book, Go ahead and write what the illustrator does, sounding it out. Tell me what the illustrator's job is. Go ahead. All right, scholars. Remember, the illustrator makes or takes the pictures. The illustrator makes or takes the pictures. We can just write makes the pictures because makes or takes is a lot. Let's sound out makes. M, A, K, K, S, space, the, THE, space, pictures. P, I, C, T, R, S. That's all for today, scholars. Keep practicing and remembering what the author does, what the illustrator does, and the different types of books that we can read. It will definitely help you in first grade, which I hope to see you in first grade next year at our new school, and I'm just excited for it, and I know you'll do great. Have a wonderful weekend, my dears, and take care.